Hello, and welcome back to my channel. This is going to be my review of Men I Trust's second album, Headroom. This was released just a year after their first outing, their self-titled project in 2014. And I feel like in large part, this album feels basically like a part two to what we saw on their self-titled. While improving on their sound that they established in the self-titled project, Men I Trust unfortunately kind of continues this one with nothing that really stands out for the most part. Most of the tracks I end up almost forgetting that like they're playing. It kind of just ends up being background music, and I find myself fighting for concentration. While I do think that they improved overall on their sound and what they were going for, as I talked about in the last Men I Trust review, it was a little all over and it seemed like they were fighting for what they wanted to sound like. I think that for the most part they stayed in the same place on this one, and it seemed that they were more honed in on what they were going for. Jesse and Dragos, the producers, are obviously very talented, and they have a nice handful of talented vocalists, but yet they just seem to be turning out more and more music that I feel like I'd hear like playing outside, like of a store, like in the mall, or like in a store at the mall. Like it just feels like very basic, very generic music that I'm listening to, and it's really unfortunate because when I was first getting into them, the first project I wasn't a huge fan of, and I was hoping to get more from the second one, and unfortunately it's really not that much of an upgrade from the two projects. Some standout moments that I did have were the first track, Morse Code, which features Odile, who we saw on the first project, and we have, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing it right, but Jeffrey. This song features a super rhythmic and funky and danceable upbeat bass that plays throughout the entire song. It's probably my favorite part of it is the bass and the production. I'm not sure if it's live or like if one of the producers actually plays it or if it was just, programmed in, but I love the bass line throughout the entire song. But all the while that's going on in the instrumental, we have both the vocals trading off and doing the entire track. They have back and forth, like one does a verse and then on the chorus they're trading back and forth, and I really like the duality of that. It sort of puts you in a trance, and it's really nice with Odile's higher register voice and Joffrey having the lower, I don't want to say it's a baritone, but it's a deeper voice, and I'm not sure if it's actually a guy or a girl, just with how their voice sounds, but I do like the contrast between the two sounds of them, and I really think that that's something that you wouldn't get from just having one person on the song. It's a nice additive to this track. The next highlight is the track Again. This one features the vocalist Ghostly Kisses, who I think does a great job on this. The instrumental reminds me almost of like hotel lobby music or like elevator music or like lounge music. It has a nice little piano lick that plays throughout the chorus that I really like. That's my favorite part of the song. And the vocalist, Ghostly Kisses, this is going to be a very obscure reference, but she sounds a lot like the vocalist on Deadmau5's song I Remember. If you have ever heard that song for some reason, she just reminds me of whoever the vocalist is on that one. It's another smooth, nice track, but I would say really those are the only two major standouts for me. I do like the instrumental tracks a fair bit, but at the same time, like I said, I often forget they're even on. They just kind of turn to background music, and I have to like fight for concentration, so they're not like they're good, but obviously they're not like that good, which is a shame to say. Something about the project that has grown on me over time is that it sort of has this aspect of a double album. You have the first 6 songs, which are vocally driven, and that is the main focus, is the vocalist, and the final 4 tracks are instrumental. The last one does technically have vocals on it, but they're not actually words, and it's just someone doing like vocal harmonies. But I do like that sort of split on it. It was something I wasn't a huge fan of right off the bat, but the more and more I listen to it, I like that, because usually when you have two-sided albums, it's usually, you know, differed by sound or mood or emotion, or even by like message lyrically. But I like this actually being separated by these first few have vocals and the last ones don't. So I really like that aspect. I do feel as if the project just feels a bit of an extension of their first LP, which I said earlier, and they really didn't have many changes stylistically. It sort of sounds like they took the sound that they had, that they preferred on the first one of the different ones that they did, and they just made more of that copied. And in some aspects it's nice, but overall I feel like they stayed in the same place and didn't really reinvent themselves, which is a shame to see. You know, for your sophomore album, I think a lot of artists are expected to really grow and do a whole lot more, and unfortunately they just didn't here. And it leaves a lot to be desired when you're listening through Headroom. Yeah, honestly, I don't really have too much to say. As I said, this is a lot like their first project. I mean, it's not really too much that's different. I do like that it's a shorter track list. I'll say that's a plus for it. It's a bit more concentrated. But yeah, that's kind of all I really have to say about it. Which I feel like is just a bit disappointing, but that's just how it is. I would rate this about a 60%. Yeah. Overall, this isn't a project that I absolutely love, but it's not one that I hate. It's one I do like it, but it's really not one I revisit all too much. But I would say if you are going through Men I Trust discography, that you know, going through these, their self-titled and Headroom are essential to kind of get an idea of where they go and how they got to the place that they're at now. Because the music they're making now, well, they haven't released anything in 2023, but their third and fourth projects I absolutely love, and I'm super excited to review those. But yeah, it's essential, I would say, these early steps to see how they got there and how they really got into their sound that they eventually stepped into. But yeah, that's the album. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe to see more. I will see you in the next video. And that's it. Bye now.